So how can you tell the difference between privacy and secrecy in a relationship? This can be challenging, so I want to lay out some examples to help you differentiate the two. So privacy is personal space. Privacy allows each individual to have their own personal space, their own boundaries within the relationship. And it's about maintaining a level of autonomy, right? The second is respect for autonomy. Privacy respects each person's right to make independent choices, to have their own thoughts and feelings and their own history, their own experiences, their own past that they may or may not want to share with anyone else, and that's okay. That's privacy. Privacy keeps certain topics or details to yourself because you may not be ready to share or may not feel it's relevant to your partner's well-being or to the relationship. That's privacy. That's okay. You should have privacy. In privacy, you might not choose to disclose every detail of your life, but you're open to matters, that affect the relationship. Privacy allows you to build trust over time, by sharing personal information gradually and in a way that feels comfortable, where you're not pushing someone, you're not being pushed. Secrecy is withholding important information. So deliberately withholding information from your partner because you fear their reaction, or you fear the information could hurt them. You don't want them to judge you. Or you don't want them to be mad at you. That's secrecy. Secrecy has an intent to deceive, right? You're purposely keeping your partner in the dark about something that might affect the relationship or affect their well-being. Engaging in secretive behavior erodes trust over time. And secrecy can be a way of avoiding taking responsibility for something you may have done or actions that your partner may not approve of, right? Engaging in secretive behavior can lead to emotional distance between partners, and it hinders your ability to develop a connected, deep relationship. If you're unsure whether a behavior is privacy or secrecy, here's what you can do. The first thing is, of course, reflect. Consider your motivations for not sharing the information, or your partner may not want to share information. Is it because it's personal, or are they purposely withholding it, with an intent to deceive? If you're uncertain, please have an open, honest conversation about this information, about boundaries, comfort levels, and intentions with your partner. Ultimately, you have to trust your gut and your intuition on whether or not something feels like privacy or crosses over into secrecy. The thing is that a lot of people don't feel that when they're in a relationship that their partner has a right to privacy, so they consider everything to be secrecy. For example, how many partners you've had in the past. A lot of people want to know how many partners their significant others had in the past. The thing about that is you really don't have a right to that information. You don't have a right to someone's body count. I can't stand that term, but that's what people use. What you do have a right to is sexual safety. Have you been tested? Do you have any STDs? Do you have STIs you want to talk about? That is something that your partner has a right to know, right? So if you're withholding the fact that you have chlamydia, that's secrecy with an intent to deceive. The information could hurt your partner and you're purposely not telling them. That's secrecy. That sucks. How many partners you've had in the past is privacy. You have the right to that. It's your past. You're your own human being. You don't have to talk about those things. And you cannot expect your partner to have to tell you things they're not comfortable telling you just because you want to know. You do have the right to know if something affects your health, right? So how many partners they've had, not your business unless they want to share. Do they have an STD? You have a right to know that. And so really you have to do reflecting on if you are allowing your partner a reasonable amount of privacy, or if you feel that what's happening is secrecy and there's a bad intent behind the secrecy, right? So if your partner doesn't like to talk about their family, their parents, their history, their relationship with their, parents, that sounds like privacy, right? If they don't want to tell you who they're talking to on the phone and who's texting them, that crosses over into secrecy, right? You don't have a right to go through your partner's phone without their consent. You don't have a right to snoop in their email. But I think it's reasonable if they're getting phone calls to, oh, who are you chatting to, right? If they say, I don't want to tell you that, now we start to cross over. It can be a little sticky. There's not a perfect line there, but it really does take a lot of emotional maturity to allow your partner to have privacy when you have insecurities. And that's the other question you have to ask yourself. Is my need to know strictly about insecurity? Is there a larger issue of trust going on in the relationship, right? Is this really about, wanting to know this one piece of information, or is this a symptom of a bigger problem and there's a bigger conversation to be had? It can be your partner displaying secretive behavior, can be a red flag to pay attention. Is there something going on big picture? Do you have trust issues in general with their partner? Even if you find out who they're talking to on the phone, maybe that doesn't solve the problem because you still have questions about their overall behavior. That's a bigger question, right? So to distinguish between privacy and secrecy, you really have to ask yourself questions about why you need to know. Does it affect your health and well-being? Does it affect the status of your relationship? Or is your partner displaying reasonable boundaries, reasonable privacy? And I would love to know, where do you draw the line? How do you know the difference? Do you find yourself, because of insecurities, needing your partner to tell you every aspect of their past, right? And you have to ask yourself, are you putting your partner in a position to feel unsafe telling you the answer, right? Are you driving your partner to secrecy? So these are all important questions to ask. It's a very gray area, and it takes a lot of self-reflection. It takes a lot of emotional maturity. I would love to know your thoughts. Where do you draw the line?